BMAX Audio Adventure, BJJ365. This time I've got a special guest. It's McDojoLife, McDojoLife on Instagram. One of the coolest dudes, and he runs a hilarious page. Hilarious. Just kind of like exposing fake jiu-jitsu and people and fake martial artists and stuff. It's amazing, and you guys are gonna like talking to him because he's actually like on a mission to like clean up the BS out of martial arts. So you guys check it out. You're gonna really like it.
Dude, I'm super excited to have you. So I was just telling everybody a little bit. You got probably the best and simultaneously the worst page on Instagram. Like all the most hideous, horrible, atrocious things I see on my Instagram every day are from you. But they're also the things that make me the happiest.
Yeah, it's like a double-edged sword, man. Like when I first started the page, I only posted shit in a negative way. So I was only like attacking people.
Yeah.
And I realized really quickly that no one wants to hear someone just bitch and moan all the time. So when I started making it a little bit more satirical and add some funny things in there and like make some funnier captions and stuff like that, my following started to grow because it was like some people had a hard time distinguishing between, is that real or are they just kind of messing around? And that's kind of the beauty of it is it's sad when the people who are serious look like they are not serious, you know?
Dude, that's the BJJ fake news. That's my favorite. Well, so tell us a little bit. All right, first of all, let me hear a little bit from you about kind of your background in martial arts. And then I want to hear about why you run the page, like if it's just for fun or if you're actually like trying to like make a point, get something done in the community. But I want to hear a little bit about your background first.
Okay, well, I've been doing martial arts for 21 years. The reason I started was because I was picked on and bullied in school. I got jumped by a group of kids, and they put me in the hospital for 3 days. They beat me. They beat me pretty bad. They stabbed me with pencils. They stepped on my head.
How old were you?
They beat the shit out of me. 2 teachers watched the entire thing and didn't actually stop it because there was some type of a rule where the only people who were allowed to intervene with fights were the officers on school grounds. So, well, that officer, luckily me, was on the other side of the school when I was getting beaten on. And he was already breaking up another fight over there. I got beaten for 5 minutes. The only reason I know it was 5 minutes was because the bell rang for us to go from one class to the next, for us to be released. They started beating me up then. And they didn't stop until after the next bell rang, which is exactly 5 minutes away. So that kind of sucked. So a friend of mine who was late for that class showed up, picked me up, and he handed me a card, and it was for karate. He goes, "You need this." And I go, "Probably." And my mom didn't want me to do any sports as a kid. She didn't want me to do baseball or football or basketball because she was worried I was going to get hurt doing those things. Well, after this incident happened, I was like, "Hey, Mom, is this something I could do?" And she gave it to me as a birthday present. And I just never stopped. I've done it ever since, and I love it. I love everything about it. I think the old cliche is it changed my life, but that's true. It really did. It gave me a goal and a purpose. It gave me an outlet. It made me not scared of people anymore because I was terrified every day because I got beaten up every day. And then since then, I'm a 3rd-degree black belt in karate. I'm a 3rd-degree black belt in something called Judo, which is a weapon system nobody's ever heard of. Basically just a funny way of saying I can do nunchucks really well. I am a 6-0 amateur boxer, 4-2 amateur kickboxer. I was on a sport karate team that traveled and kickboxed for about 2 years called Full Circle. And then I'm a BJJ purple belt at the moment, and that's where I've been putting a lot of my energy and effort with my personal training is in my jiu-jitsu.
Man, that's incredible. So how old were you when that happened to you?
12 years old.
Man, and you just signed up for, what's up, Joe Friday? You just signed up for karate at that time.
That was it. I was
me
hooked,
and my wife did Tung Sudo. We got black belts in Tung Sudo. And so like a lot of, I guess it's cool in the jiu-jitsu community to kind of take a dump on traditional martial arts.
Yeah.
But I'm into it, man. I like it. I mean, my parents were both into Taekwondo, and then we did Tung Sudo, and I got a lot of value out of that. And to tell you the truth, like the longer I guess the more removed I get from it and deeper into the jiu-jitsu world, the more I can look back and actually draw value out of some of the things that even at that time I thought were kind of worthless. Like some of the kata and stuff. Like I still don't know that I love kata, but I can draw value from it in a way now.
Well, like how I see it is like boxers do shadow boxing.
Yes.
It's the same shit. You're just, instead of you practicing your technique on another person, you're walking through the movements. If anybody ever sees me out in public, like I have a tick where I practice just randomly. It doesn't matter where I am or what I'm doing. I'll stand up and I'll start working my head movement, or I'll start working on like an arm drag. Like I'll do arm drag drills just in the supermarket, right? And
but dude, I'll be doing that
I want to practice, but that's kata, you know.
I do that stuff too. I do this thing where like when I walk up, like I'm walking up to a door, like just a push door, let's say like a convenience store or something. I keep my elbow tucked in and I push it. I walk it with my body instead of like pushing it over. I know, I'm psycho. People are always like, "What are you doing?" Don't worry about it, man. Just
yeah, man. I don't even let my wife get underhooks, dude.
No, man.
No. I'd let you get one. You get one. We'll pummel for the rest, but you ain't getting the other one.
Keith Kavanaugh says, I bridge and shrimp the same way I used to do katas years ago. Yeah, that's what we're doing to warm up anyway. It's basically like Mount Escape kata.
Yeah, it's over and over again.
Yeah, and you know what? You can do that in a way that's useless. Yeah, you can shrimp and bridge in a way that's useless at the beginning of training, or you can do it in an intellectually engaged way that'll actually benefit you.
Exactly. So, you know, what I find interesting about, I love all the martial arts. I love all of it. People think that I hate on a lot of martial arts. I just rip into everybody. I don't give a shit if it's fake or if it's harmful to people. I don't care what the art is. Like I have 5 very basic rules and I stick to those rules. And if you break those rules, those are the ones I go after, no matter what the art is. So I love all martial arts. I think they're all very useful in their own way. Like even like Kung Fu and Wushu and all that stuff. You can't tell me people don't like Shaw Brothers movies, man. Old school Kung Fu. You know what I'm saying? Like without those arts, you don't get that entertainment. You know, without traditional Taekwondo, you don't get a lot of the acrobatic kickers and stuntmen that you get today. So you have to show respect for what it is, as long as they're packaging it for what it is, which is usually like, okay, well, this is good to look at. You know, this is very entertaining. This is good for exercise. This is going to help you with your coordination. And this is for like, if you're actually going to be in a street fight with someone and you need to protect yourself, sometimes those two things are completely different, but they have their place. There's nothing wrong with that as long as they're not lying to you about it.
That's the big deal. It's like, I don't like when martial arts go, look, this is a deadly killing system, but it's just old ladies under a tree. You know what I mean? So people are always like goofing on me, but I've actually learned a lot about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu from like reading about Tai Chi. You know, just like some of the things about, I was talking about this on my podcast the other day, like talking about rooting and how to properly stand and what posture is actually built of. That has helped my jiu-jitsu in a lot of ways more than the jiu-jitsu that I've been taught. You know, so, but you have to look at it for what it is instead of what it tells you it is, if that makes any sense.
You know, like there's this guy, I forget his name right now. I went down a rabbit hole on YouTube last night with this dude. He was one of the guys that movie, Staring at Goats, Men Who Stare at Goats. Have you ever seen that?
Yes, and it was awesome. I love that kind of stuff.
The guy that movie is based around, right? That dude really believes all of those things.
Yes, he does.
There's an incredible YouTube video of him training special forces, training our military to kill people by looking at them. So, like, he talks about his experience about sitting in a room and them developing that Jedi system and, like, goats being in another room and him, like, thinking about killing a goat in his head and the goat would fall over. And then, like, they painting numbers on goats in another room and then him picking a number and making that goat, you know, like, fall asleep or die. But, like, the delusion is just incredible to me because that's not just a little delusional. That's
it's all the way.
Enough. That's so delusional. He convinced the United States government to let him have his own program. How crazy is that? You know, so that kind of shit blows my mind.
that's the part of all of the crazy martial arts stuff that amazes me the most. It's not that somebody's trying to fool you into thinking that they're amazing. That I get. That makes sense. I might have a little of that in me myself. You know, it's the people who buy into it like wholeheartedly. And you know, I come from a very deep religious background, and so I've been around a lot of things like that. Not exactly, you know, we didn't do like the, you know, Benny Hinn kind of stuff, but you know, I got to watch a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And man, it's just amazing. Dude, one of the best videos on the internet is Benny Hinn swinging his jacket as a Sith
and he's
Lord.
knocking people out.
But have you seen where somebody cuts a lightsaber in on it and he's just like mowing people down with a lightsaber? That's the best video.
Yeah, that's good. You know, like when I look at it, like the older I get, the more I understand. At first, I didn't get it, but I've been doing this particular page for like 5 years now, and I've been immersed in it. Every day, I post at least one time a day. So you got to figure I posted thousands of times, and I try to post something different every day. I try. Sometimes, you know, if I can't find anything, I'll just go back and find something really old and post that. But most of the time, I try to find something new every day, and I usually don't have a problem finding stuff that's new, which you would think I would, but I never do. I never run out. It's like an endless well of crazy. But one thing that I've noticed is I started thinking, like, the major question is, who do you blame the most? Do you blame the instructor, or do you blame the people buying it? And I have to say, I still blame the instructor. Like, the people who are buying it aren't buying it. They're being sold it. Mm-hmm. So basically, the people who are the instructors or whatnot, they're providing a service for people that those people didn't know they needed until they were sold it. So like, for instance, if, you know, somebody goes, man, I got to get into the martial arts. You know, I saw this thing on YouTube. I saw the UFC. I saw this cool Kung Fu movie, whatever the reason was. You know, we all have our own reasons. And then all of a sudden they go, I'm missing X. And X could be, I want to lose weight. I have a girl that I really like. I'm too scared. I don't have confidence. I live in a rough neighborhood. I really do need to defend myself. So you have all these reasons, right? But one that a lot of people miss is a lot of people are missing the fact that some of these people want a mentor. They need someone to look up to and somebody to follow. So they go, well, martial arts is cool, and this guy seems to know what he's talking about. I'll just follow him. And the moment they walk in the door, that person is already starting that brainwash. It's starting right off the bat by just providing them with the thing that they said they wanted.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, the average person, I try to remind people this a lot, but the average question when somebody calls a martial arts program isn't what we would normally ask. Like, as a martial artist, the questions that you would ask are different than somebody who's never done the martial arts. The average person who's never done the martial arts doesn't know what to ask. They know one question, and that's, how much does it cost?
Yes.
And then once that person on the other end of the phone goes, oh, that's all they know, they got it. They start with that, whatever they have, that whether it be a script or whether it be habit or whether it be brainwashing techniques, whatever you want to call it, right? Now, some of these people do this for your benefit, right? If I go to a gym and the coach is like, you need to come in and work out 3 or 4 times a week, that's not brainwashing me. That's just fucking true. I probably should get up and work out every day. But when they do that same exact thing and they flip it and they go, well, you also need to learn how to knock people out with your mind. You know, they slide that one in there. You go, what? Like,
well, the thing is, I do need to learn how to do that. I'm ripe. The right person comes along, I'm all ears. I want that, man. I want the Jedi powers. Every now and then, I'll just, every couple of weeks, I think it's a good idea to just test your Jedi powers. You know, just in case you don't want to have it for like a month and not know. You know?
I know, that's like a month wasted, man.
I know, dude.
What am I doing with this jiu-jitsu garbage? I need to get out there and knock people out with my mind.
Well, you know what? I do think that even, I'm a billion% believer in jiu-jitsu, obviously. But I do think that we limit what's possible in jiu-jitsu sometimes because we only practice like this. You know what I mean? I do think that there's a lot more to the martial arts than just what jiu-jitsu offers. So, I wanna hear out some of these guys, but dude, the real world beckons as well. So
yeah. Well, we got We have a couple big things coming up I'm pretty excited about. One, this lady, she's a coach for some fitness program. She's a very good personal trainer for what it seems. Like, I see results from her people, and her people love her. She's obviously very charismatic. But she did a self-defense video for this magazine called Marie Claire.
Okay.
And it's very well done, like very high quality and stuff like that. It's you can't miss it. It's a petite woman versus a bigger dude. The view is of like a New York City skyline is what it looks like to me. But the things that she taught, absolutely none of those things would work. Not even a little bit. Like, she did this wrist escape where someone grabs your wrist, and there's a million of escapes.
I've seen that video.
And she turns her back and doesn't actually break the grip. And in my head, I'm going, that's ridiculous. That looks made up. And then she does a couple other self-defense things. That was like a scissor sweep, but it wasn't a scissor sweep. It was just kind of pushing them away. I was like, well, that's not going to work. And then she did like a knee from being front choked, non-consensually choked, I guess you could say. And she tries to do this knee, but the knee would never reach or land, or you would never stay on balance long enough to make that knee. So there was a lot wrong with it. Well, I posted that video, and someone tagged her, the actual person in the video, which is awesome because I would have never found that.
Yeah.
So I'm not, I can't work magic. I don't know all these people. So they tagged her in it, and they started defending her. And I was like, well, they said that she had apologized. I was like, oh, shit. That'd be the first time in the history of any of these videos I heard an apology. So I hit her up personally on her thing. I sent her a message, and I was like, hey, I see that she did say something about feeling bad about the whole thing, and she's trying to grow and learn new martial arts and stuff, and she's doing Krav Maga now. So I was like, she's trying. She's making an attempt to be better. That's awesome. That's all I give a shit. Well, I hit her up, and she says she's willing to do an interview with me.
Oh, that would be great.
People. How awesome is that?
That's really awesome, actually. So she's still teaching martial arts, though, or she's still teaching self-defense? No, she doesn't.
And she
it's
never
a self-defense course only, right?
Yeah, she only did that video. Oh. But here's what kills me is like those videos to me are the most damaging to the community because those videos you kind of put in a little trust in the brand. So like Marie Claire's been around forever, right? And you go, okay, well they wouldn't just hire some random chick. Apparently they fucking would, Or you look at these other self-defense videos and you're going, what's another one? 5-minute crafts is another terrible one.
Yeah, dude,
like
they block
grabbing the thigh or pressing the shoulder. Like if you poke me in the shoulder and I'm trying to hurt you, now I'm going to hurt you worse. Like
my 10-year-old daughter follows that page, that 5-minute crafts page, and so I think I reposted something that you had posted from them or something like that. And she goes, oh, 5-minute crafts does jujitsu or something like that. And I was like, no, baby. But, that's exactly what you're talking about. There's credibility established there already. And, my daughter's a little monster, dude. She's a pressure passing beast. So
yeah, I saw that the other day. She was like the Von Flu choking you for the pass or whatever.
She's ridiculous. You wouldn't believe the amount of pressure she can generate for a 10-year-old kid. It doesn't make sense. Like she can genuinely cross face you and stop you from moving. It's crazy. But yeah, she saw that on her feed or whatever, and she's like, "Oh man, crazy! What do you think about this, Dad?" Garbaggio. Okay, so I don't want to keep you forever, but I want you to kind of talk to me about like your goal. I guess just talk to me about the page itself rather than just your background. Like, what are you trying to do? I know you just got like a giant bump, like maybe a month or two back from Rogan. So just kind of give us a little bit about the page itself.
Well, the ultimate goal is to, I guess you could say, call out the bullshit artists. There's a lot of people out there taking advantage of people. The page has 5 very simple rules. I always like to cover them. One of the rules is that if you're a pedophile, you shouldn't own a martial arts studio. I think everybody can agree with that.
Seems reasonable, but you'd be surprised.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of them, which is another thing that I'm looking to do is just call these people out and stuff like that. But if you're a pedophile, you don't deserve a martial arts studio. If you have cult-like practices or unsafe environment, you don't deserve a school. You're going to get your students hurt. Like I've seen these videos of guys lining up for their instructor to just punch them in the face hard. Like that doesn't do anything for you other than give you a concussion. You know, that's dumb. That's a stupid training habit. You're going to get people hurt. You know, so that kind of thing. Cult-like behavior is another thing where you're convincing people that you have these special powers, like the yellow bamboo people and stuff like that, where you're trying to generate some type of magical voodoo shit. Like, no, son, you're brainwashing people and taking their money. So that's 2. 3 is if you lie about your rank or your fight record. If you lie about your rank or your fight record, you'll probably lie about other things that you've done. You know, there are legitimate, like the fights that I've had, I had to train for them. I had to do my weight cuts. I had to do, you know, go through 8-week training camps and get the shit beat out of me. You know, I had to bleed and I had to put in sacrifice with my time, my family, my relationships to be able to go pursue that. And then when somebody walks up and goes, yeah, man, I'm like 32-2. And I go, well, that's cool. Like, where at? And they can't give me any responses to where they trained, where they fought, any proof, any organization. Oh, I fought in the streets. Like, you can't fucking count that. These are sanctioning numbers. Like, you know, like there was a body of people. There was people there who represented the state who looked at you and fought. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you were in a ring and this is something that actually happened. So those kind of things are annoying to me. Shady business practices, for instance, like when people are like, they try to sign families up on these like 5-year, 2-year contracts and they don't let them out with any like compromise or they try to take advantage of them. That's fucked up. I do not have anything against contracts. Let me get that straight right now. I don't have anything against that as long as you agree to know what you're agreeing to, right? But whenever it's time for you to get out, I don't think they should hold you liable for the entire tuition. You know, like there should be some compromise.
Some buyout or
compromise.
Something. We do a buyout.
And then the last one is you teach no-touch knockouts and or teach techniques that don't work, that are not proven to actually work. You know, if I taught somebody a jab, I have jabbed people in the face. I've been jabbed in the face. I knew that they were going to try to jab me in the face. I attempted to stop it, and it still hit me anyway. That's the cool thing about jiu-jitsu to me is we can learn a technique, right? And let's say we're working from guard. And I know that you're going to do a guard pass. I know exactly what you're going to do to pass my guard. And then the professor sits us down and he goes, all right, guys, we're starting from guard. Person on top, pass. Person on bottom, sweep, submit, right? And I know that you're going to do that exact same pass because you just worked on it. And you know that I'm going to try either this sweep or this submission. And yet they still work. That's proof. That's the proof in the pudding is even when you know it's going to happen, it still works. You know, and if you can't do that with your technique, then your technique's bullshit. It's not real. It's fantasy, you know. So those are the things that I try to stop. And I really hope that whenever somebody like a pedophile, for instance, tries to open up a studio and hide behind the mysticism of who they are. Oh, I'm just some great grandmaster. I'm a black belt in this. Just because you're a black belt doesn't mean you're a good human being. You know, like you can be just as shitty as everybody else. You know,
and honestly, more so in a lot of ways. Like we talk about how martial arts or jiu-jitsu, like one of the big cliches is that weeds out the ego or it dissolves the ego. But you know, that may be true at the white belt level, but blue belt, you know, you need to kind of shed that a little bit. But man, I see it come back at the black belt level out of people a lot. And that disturbs me. It makes me upset, man.
Yeah, man, me too.
We got a lot of growing to do in that regard.
I do really hope that if I get enough eyes on the page, right? Because that's really what it is. It's a numbers game. That if somebody looks up a studio down the road that's shady, right? And they type in Steve's Martial Arts, right? And they type it in, and then that person's teaching something non-legitimate. My hope is before their actual webpage pops up, my video with them teaching bullshit pops up first. And that way the person who doesn't know anything about martial arts goes, oh, what's this? And they click on that and they can read comments and they can see like, whoa, this is not legitimate. And I would hope that in turn would shut them down. And then eventually what would happen is people start looking over their shoulder for people like me, because I'm a big dick, and I'm going to walk into your studio and call you out and go, yo, I'm sorry, like the rules are very simple here. Follow the rules and everybody will be cool. And really the rules are just don't lie. I don't think that's a very difficult rule not to follow, you know, and if you do lie, expect to be called out on it. So when somebody's like, yeah, I'm like a black belt, right? Jiu-jitsu is really good about self-regulating. Jiu-jitsu, better not lie about your black belt, because there's going to be somebody to call you out.
And somebody's going to show up at your door.
You know, you put your hands on somebody who's a black belt, you just know where their hands are. What's the pressure? When they try to pass your guard, what's the intent? You know, like, are they smoothly you know, you can tell. But you can't really tell that with some other arts. You know, I don't do capoeira. I've never done capoeira a day in my, well, I did a seminar one time, but I don't really know capoeira, right? So if somebody like started doing cartwheels and shit, and they were like, yeah, I'm a black belt in capoeira, I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
but,
me neither.
You know, hopefully that's what the page will do eventually, is help other people understand, like, yo, hey, this guy over here, he's lying. Oh, really? Because I wouldn't know that, but thank you for sharing. And then when I do some research and find out they really are, call them out, you know?
So, all right, let's go back to one of the rules was lying about your record, right? So, all right, I'm asked the hard-hitting questions here.
Do it.
How do we reconcile that with some of our heroes in the jiu-jitsu community?
With some of our heroes?
Yeah.
Name one.
Well, you know, a lot of the Gracies, in particular, some of those old school guys, they would, you know, like look at some of the records that they push out about like 400-0 or whatever, you know, like, and you're like, you can't count street fights, but they count like gym fights and stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's a good question. That's a great question, because they documented their gym fights.
A lot of them.
So like, but if they could actually show you proof of this. It's not like they were like making shit up, you know, like look at Jeremy Horn. Remember Jeremy Horn back in the day?
Oh yeah, I know
200, 300 fights or something like that, astronomical. Yeah. You could go back and actually watch every one of his fights, because that was when NHB had just gotten big, and that dude was just trying to make $1. So he was like, I'm gonna fight as much as I can. Just a true legend. But anyway, that dude's got astronomical fights. So I would think as long as there's some type of proof behind it, then that's cool. I would think that you know, most people on average, when they're like, yeah, man, I'm from the streets, how often have you fought? Like, here's a good one. So I put on a sparring match between a chick and a dude.
Like you were like the promoter?
Yeah, well, kind of, right? So I put on a sparring match between a chick and a dude, right? And because he was talking shit online that women should not be taught martial arts.
I remember hearing about this. I didn't see it, though.
You weren't missing much, because it was a very exciting fight, to be honest, or sparring match. Sorry, State Athletic Commission, sparring match. So it wasn't a very exciting sparring match, but because they like, you know, it kind of like the hype of it kind of died down for them. And by the time they actually got to meet each other and stuff, they kind of got to know each other, and like they actually had some of the same opinions. It kind of was like a letdown for a fight or a sparring match. God damn it, sparring match. It was a letdown a little bit. But at the same time, like it did kind of prove a little bit of a point, which was nice, because she was a pro MMA fighter, Tara LaRosa. She like paved the way for a lot of women. At one time, she was like had a 15-fight win streak or something like that. Just a true badass. But she had been retired for like 2 years. So, and then he was just talking crap. Like he said, it was irresponsible for anyone to teach women martial arts, because it gave them a false sense of security. And in my head, I'm going, well, one, you're crapping on my job. So that's not cool. Two, he's talking this garbage to students of mine. And I was like, are you willing to put this to the test? Because I know that if a Gabby Garcia got a hold of you and got you, she would murder you, right? So then he was like, you know, this generalization, there's a lot more factors than just being a man and a woman. You know, like I wouldn't want to fight Chris Cyborg. I would not.
No.
So there are a lot more factors than just being a man and a woman. Athleticism, size, strength, height, weight, killer instinct is a huge one, because a lot of people don't have it. You know, the ability to take damage and continue, heart, all of these things add up to a fighter, right? So I was like, you know what? Put your money where your mouth is. Would you be willing to do a sparring match with a woman? And he said, yeah. And he said,
propers to him, man.
Yeah, man. But he said yes, and I was like, well, okay. And then I put out, I put out an offer. It was, I'm trying to find the right wording here, but I put out an offer. I was like $2,000 to any woman who would be willing to spar this dude. And it blew up. And I was like, holy crap. Well, still to this day, this was like almost a year ago. To this day, I still get people randomly hit me up like, yo, man, can you hook me up with a fight with a woman? And I'm like, no, I'm not a promoter. Like, that's not what I do. And I can't get that sanction, and I don't set up fights. That was a sparring match between a man and a woman, and it was very specifically done because he had not trained and she was, and that was the point. It was, can an untrained man beat a trained woman? You know?
So you get people who are trained in some art that want to fight a woman?
Yep. Happens probably about once a month right now.
Dude, what?
Yeah, they're really weird. But this dude...
You got to screenshot those and post them. Okay, those people are dangerous, dude.
Well, one guy I had to block. So, like, it's really hard. Like, if I can find him, I'll post him. But this dude, he hit me up and he was like begging for me to put something on. I was like, I don't do that. That's not what I do. And I was like, that was for the point. Like, and then this dude's like, yeah, I fight women all the time. And I'm like, you probably shouldn't, because that's weird. And then he was proud of the fact that he had never lost to a female in his gym. And I was like, well, what is your, because finally I was like, you know what, I'll find a promoter for you that can take you away and be their problem. So
dude, I can't even say that I've never lost to a female in my house.
I mean, I've lost to females. Like, when I was getting ready for kickboxing tournaments and stuff like that, we used to train in South Florida and Orlando, or I guess Central Florida. We trained in Orlando, and it was like an open mat setting, and all of these gyms knew all the other gyms. So you get to spar some of these great kickboxers, right? Yeah. And some of these women that came in there would just beat the brakes off of you, because that's all they were doing all the time was training for kickboxing.
Oh, no. Froze up. No! Oh, there you go.
I'm back.
What'd you get, a phone call?
Yeah, man, I hate that, dude. You know,
there needs to be some kind of setting that Instagram or iPhone, they need to work it out to where you can, like, turn off all your notifications but still be able to.
Yeah.
Anyway.
There's a setting on the phone for, like, do not disturb, but if they call you twice,
it doesn't work.
Yeah, it sucks.
There needs to be like a one-punch button. Boom, turn off everything except for the program I'm working on.
Exactly. That'd be nice. Can you see me right now, though?
Yeah, you're good.
Cool, because on my end it goes black. It pisses me off every time. But anyway, so this dude hits me up, and I was like, dude, I don't do that. That's not what I do. And then he kept being persistent. And then finally I was like, all right, man, what is your record? I just want to know more about this guy so I can find out who he's under, so I can talk to his instructor and be like, this guy's weird. You need to get him off my page. And well, he was like, oh, I record, what's that mean? And I go, well, you fought, right? If you fought, that means there's numbers behind that. You have wins, losses, draws. I was like, what are those numbers? And he was like, I've never lost. And I was like, okay, that's not answering my question. I was like, all right, so how about this? Do you have any film of you sparring, right? Just any film of you working out or sparring at all? He goes, no, why would I do that? Why would I have tape of that? I was like, are you fucking, like, stupid or some shit? Like, I film all the time just because I want to see what I'm doing wrong and fix it. You know, like if I'm sparring or if I'm rolling or if I'm kickboxing or boxing, I want to see where my mistakes are. And then I have fights that I have on VHS. That goes to show you how old I am. But I have fights where I'll pop them in and I'll watch them and I'll look at that and go, man, that's a mistake. That's a habit I still have. I got to fix. Or I just need a pick me up of me kicking someone in the face. So I pop it in. I go, oh, that was awesome. You know, but there's some type of footage. You know what I'm saying? So he had nothing. And I was like, well, here, how about you just film yourself today when you're at your gym sparring? And it was like, oh, I don't have a gym. I was like, what the? So you're basically just practically just a weirdo who wants to fight women is what you're saying, you know? So I get all kinds of weird people, man. It's an odd industry.
You should screenshot those dudes and post them on your page, man.
I'm going to go back and find him. You just reminded me of that. I'm going to go back and try to find that guy because it was weird.
Put him on blast. Not that he'll care. It'll be the greatest thing that ever happened to him, probably.
Yeah. He'd be like, oh, my God, people saw my face.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're a fucking creep.
So, all right, it's McDojoLife, McDojoLife. Do you have like a way that we can, like, you have a T-shirt shop or a website or anything that we can like support?
Yeah, man. I appreciate you bringing that up. Actually, we do have T-shirts on Teespring. So if you just look us up on Teespring, you can find it. Right now, I'm really pushing for the Patreon. We have a Patreon. Every time I ask people like, yo, man, I got this Patreon. Who would be willing to help us out so that way I can do this full time, travel to these gyms? Because people are like, how come you don't go into those gyms? Well, in my head, I'm going, well, because that gym's in Michigan and I'm in Florida and I have a full-time job. So in order for me to get the time off to go there, I have to make enough money to be able to justify taking the time off of work and going and travel and, you know, like food, room and board. It's not easy. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
Everything's self-funded right now, but right now on our Patreon, it's doing okay. So if anybody would like to support, it's $1 a month. My T-shirt's $22. And if you were a patron for a year, that's $12. You know, so it's cheaper for you to support us on Patreon than just to buy a T-shirt. Although I appreciate all that.
Nice,
You know?
man. Dude, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. Like I was saying at the beginning, you got like one of my favorite pages on the entire internet. It's right up my alley, dude. I love watching that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man, I love the videos that you do. The videos that you do where you try some techniques that look unorthodox and they still work. Like a lot of that stuff, I'm like, oh, I do that one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I love that kind of stuff. Like, I think there's a lot of value and there's a lot more to learn about jiu-jitsu, about the art of jiu-jitsu specifically than we're not like, because people are hiding it. So I don't want to be like, oh, we're not being told the whole truth.
Yeah.
I just think that it's easy to go, this is what my coach says. This is what I've seen happen. This is how it works. And it's easy to go, this gives me results. So this is the way.
Yeah.
You know, and one thing that really, I know this is just some like passing comment, but it was a really big influence in my training is when I was a white belt. There's a video, and this is still out there somewhere. It's probably like a submissions 101 video, but it's like, it's Eddie Bravo, my coach Eddie, talking about twister side control, the position that we call twister side control, or sort of like reverse case of gatami or kazura case or whatever it's called.
I got you, yeah.
And he's talking about, look, this position takes a lot of work to develop. He said in the first 100 times you do it, it's going to fail. And you're going to go, man, I just need to turn back to regular side control and do what I've been told. He said, but you're going to miss the good stuff at the end of this if you do that. I was like, whoa, that could be. And so I followed his advice and I got really good at that position. And now, you know, I prefer it over like a regular side control, right? But if that's true about that one thing, then that could be true about every other thing that we believe to be true.
Exactly.
And so what I started trying to do was try to find, look, there's got to be some overarching principles that build all the things that work. And if I can look at something that doesn't work right now and then add the principles of balance and weight distribution and leverage to it, then I can make something that doesn't work against a resisting opponent.
I think a lot of people fail to realize that just because it doesn't work for you now doesn't mean that it doesn't work.
Bro, a rear naked choke used to not work either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Scissor sweep didn't work until what belt level, for real?
Yeah. Well, I remember like the one thing that I had a hard time understanding was butterfly guard. I really had a hard time wrapping my mind around the fact that basically I'm putting my feet in a position where it seemed very simple to pass. It looks that way. When you look at butterfly guard, just basic standard butterfly, you're going, why doesn't it just hop over your knees? You know, it's like there's really nothing to that. But then when you start using it and you start feeling pressure, it's almost like they become a marionette puppet. And you can feel and move them. And like, I love butterfly. It's one of my favorite sweeps now. You know, like as soon as I get that butterfly hook in, they start trying to pass. I kick the leg over and boom, they're on their back. And I like it. 9 times out of 10, it's like a 3/4 guard, but hey, I'll take what I can get. You know, at least I'm not on my back.
That's right.
Something to work on for myself. But you know, it's like it's okay to fail. I think people are just in the grand scheme of people, they're looking for the easy, quick, like, oh, this has to work this first time or it doesn't work. And that's not how the martial arts works. Like
that's not how anything works.
Yeah, it's like my golf swing sucks because I don't practice. You know, like. So I can't just say that, well, why don't they just make the stick different? It's like, well, because stick's not different. Why don't I make my golf swing better? You know?
Yeah. It's strange because martial arts is really the only thing that I've ever come across that people think that way with. Like, nobody watches basketball, like watches a fadeaway jumper, and then they go try it, and the first time they try it, they miss the shot and go, fadeaway jumpers don't work. Nobody does that. So I don't understand. Like we're just conditioned to look for some mysticism or something in the martial arts. We want a quick fix. I don't know what it is, man, but
Yeah,
it's in
like,
martial arts more than anything.
you know, one thing that I see in the martial arts that I don't see anywhere else as well, just to add to that, is how much we put people on pedestals. So, like, I don't walk into
Yeah.
my barber, you know, and then, like, we might chit chat or whatever, but I don't look at my barber and go, hey, man, you know, how do I fix my TV? Because my barber cuts hair. You know, I
Right.
don't walk up to my mechanic and go, hey, dude, could you hook me up with a fade? Like, I could use a little side. He doesn't do that, you know what I'm saying? But for some reason, we look at, like, martial arts instructors and we put them on such a high pedestal and we ask them about everything. And like, I've seen a lot of people do this, but it seems like they always have an answer. And instead of just saying the truth, which is, I don't know. Like, of course you don't know, because you're a human being and you don't know everything about everything, you know? Like, we put these people on this pedestal. I think that's what allows people to become brainwashed, you know?
Dude, I used to train with this. I won't tell you who it is, but I used to train with this guy, and he was an awesome black belt. Not a jiu-jitsu black belt, but he was an awesome black belt in another martial art. And that's all he had ever really done since he was a little kid. And but this was him. Like, he was convinced that made him a black belt at everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like, I'm not an amazing basketball player, but I played my whole life. So, and, you know, I played in high school. I played in the varsity team, and then I just pretty much played every day at that time. And he was like, well, I could beat you at basketball. I was like, no, what? No, you couldn't. Like, that's impossible.
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, let's just go have a free throw contest. Okay, great. That sounds great.
Yeah.
He put $10 down.
Oh, he had money on it.
That
So
he
he knew he was winning.
could beat me, that he could make more free throws than me in 10 tries. And I was like, that sounds great. And so we get out there. Don't do it, Joe. Don't say it, Joe Friday. Joe. So this guy right here, Joe Friday 83, that just chimed in, he is the guy who first introduced me to Eddie Bravo.
Oh, that's awesome.
He was one of my training partners, like, from day one, really. It's one of the, like, huge influence in my martial arts. But anyway, we go out to shoot free throws, and I've never seen him shoot before. And, dude, honestly, it looked like it was the first time he'd ever picked up a basketball. And I'm like, how could you possibly have thought this was going to go some other way? It's insane to me. But that's just a story to echo what you're talking about there.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It just blows my mind. Like, when I was younger, I kind of got it. You know, I was like, oh my God, this is like my idol or whatever. And then I met a whole bunch of my idols, and I realized they were big pieces of shit. And I was like, you know what? Like, they're just people. Like, one of my favorite people on this planet. All right. He's one of my favorite kickboxers ever. I got to meet him. He actually is a very cool individual, right? He is the exception to the rule. His name is Bill Wallace.
Oh, I met him at in Las Vegas last summer.
Yes, dude. So Bill Wallace is probably one of my favorite people, right? Anytime he's in Florida, I always go to a seminar, no matter where it is. I drive because I love this dude. Like, he is a genuine human being, right? So the first time I met him, I'll never forget, my instructor at the time and him were very close friends. And I had seen his kickboxing matches because my instructor had shown me some of that stuff. And at the time, kickboxing was a little bigger than it is now, over in the States anyway. And I was like, oh my God, that's Bill Wallace. I was like, I gotta like meet this dude. So my instructor walked me over to him. And back then, I was very much a gothic kid.
So we need photo evidence.
I was wearing the most ridiculous outfit. It was pretty crazy. There was really no point behind it or whatever. I was all red pants, big flared bottoms, like a fucking stupid overshirt, like red glasses, just the whole works of being gothic, right? So I walk up to him and he looks at me and he doesn't say, he goes, hey, this is Bill Wallace. I want to introduce you. This is Rob, one of my black belts. I'd like you to get to know him. And this is even sadder because I was like 18 at the time, so I was still old enough not to dress that way. Terrible taste. But nowadays, I keep it simple. So he walks me, and Bill Wallace grabs me by the shoulder like, buddy, and he walks me over. He goes, hey, can I talk to you for a second? Super nice. I was like, of course. And he walks me away from everybody, and he looks at me and goes, hey, I just got to ask you a question. And I go, yeah, what is it? He goes, what are you wearing? And I go, oh, well, this is just how I dress. He goes, stop. You're dressing like a faggot. He goes, don't do it ever again. And that was the first interaction I ever had with this man. The first interaction I ever had. And I was like, he's a very blunt, to the point individual, right? So I was like, to me, that solidified this dude as being like himself, unapologetically himself all the time. He didn't sugarcoat it. He didn't like back down off of what he was going to say. He just said it, right? And from then on out, I was like, I gotta get to know this guy, you know. So that was the first time I ever met Bo Wallace. Pretty awesome.
Whoa, that's pretty hardcore.
Yeah. I was like, yeah.
I got to meet Jean-Claude Van Damme last year. So that was pretty cool. He was a really nice guy. We got to go on set when he was filming. That he's got a show on Amazon called Jean-Claude Van Johnson.
Yes, dude, I've seen that. It's like a caricature of himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, my buddy Dave, he wrote that show. Like, he was the writer and producer and all that stuff. And so he brought me and both of my kids and my wife. We got to sit on set and like meet everybody. And awesome. Jean-Jacques. Listen, my brainwashed.
Different guy.
Jean-Claude, he took time out of the filming and came over and like talked to us. And he was always like, "Oh, you guys pose for a picture." You know, in my mind, he was like 9 feet tall. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, dude.
But he was like the size of these eardrops right here.
Him and another guy that Jason David Frank got into like a little bit of an altercation.
I remember that, the Power Ranger guy, right?
Yeah, dude. And Jason David Frank's had some MMA fights, and I guess he was juicing at the time because he was fucking huge for those fights.
Who you got, the Green Power Ranger or CM Punk? Call it right now.
Oh man, Power Ranger, dude.
Yeah, good call.
Because I think CM Punk, unfortunately, he might be one of those like. Because there are guys in the gym who are, like, just incredible, like monsters. You get them in the gym, they hit pads like nobody's business. They put in the work, they put in the time. But mentally, like, there's something missing for the actual fight. Mm-hmm. Like, they just fall apart, and they're not.
I'm like that a little bit. You know,
like, it's sad because it's a lot of talent that could really be used well, but they just mentally, there's a block when it comes to the real fight. You know, maybe in like a self-defense situation to be different because that's more fight or flight. But I think a lot of these guys get into their head, you know, oh, fuck, all these people are watching me. What if I fail? Blah, blah, blah. And then by the time they get into the ring, they're a shell of themselves. So that's what I imagine CM Punk probably is. You know, is like he probably is an animal in the gym. You can't take anything away from him having the balls to step in there in front of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people to watch him get beat up. Yeah. But there's a dude here locally who's the same way. He is incredible. You put gloves on that dude, he will beat the shit out of you in the gym. If you go to roll with this dude, he's tapping you out. Like, he is an animal in the gym. He is like 0-6. And he just keeps trying to fight. Like, he's hoping that he can break this mental block. But right now, every time I look at him fight, I just feel bad. I watch him walk up to the ring, and I could see him mentally just fall apart, crumble. It's like, dude, that's what you got to work. You need to stop training so much and find a psychologist and let them handle your mental stuff. So that way you can get into the ring with some confidence, you know. But Jason David Frank has had fights, pro fights, and he's won. So I'm taking him, and I'm pretty sure he's a higher weight class too.
Doesn't matter. We still do it like the UFC one where I'm from, boy. We're from Alabama. What state are you located in?
Florida.
Oh, we're not far away. What part of Florida?
Jacksonville.
You know Brian Brown? You know my buddy Brian?
I don't think so. Where's he out of?
Jacksonville. He runs the 10th Planet down there.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I don't personally know him, but
dude, he's like one of the nicest savages you'll ever meet. You definitely need to hook up with him. He's a great guy, and he's a really great business guy too, man. He might have some great insight onto your page, maybe.
That'd be cool. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There's a couple guys out here. Like, luckily, Jacksonville is so
a lot
big.
of jiu-jitsu, yeah.
Yeah, so we have tons of jiu-jitsu, and luckily, everybody, even if they don't like each other, they get along.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It's kind of like if you have, like, parents that split up, you know? Like, oh, well, we'll just be nice to each other in front of the kids. That's kind of how it is. Like, nobody's, like, real animosity-driven. Like, the karate scene back in the day, which is what ruined karate in Jacksonville, was that problem, is that people just didn't get along. So instead of like, hey, like in order for me to exist, you have to exist kind of thing, like we need
I think he got another phone call. He's very popular. Well, I don't know if he's going to make it back in. But if he doesn't, this has been another fine episode of BMAX Audio Adventure. I'll rip this down and get it put up at some point. So take it easy, guys. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. If you need anything, please feel free to hit me up. And don't forget, go by and get these fantastic BJJ365 shirts. This is the new podcast shirt. Pretty stoked about it. That website is www.10p4l.com. Thanks, guys. Love you.